So Wynand is here of Lanzarote Wines, and Wynand, thanks for making the time. I know you're quite a busy guy. Now you know about the dish. We did tell you what we're cooking today.
Yes.
And you brought two wines for us to pair with the dish. So tell me about them, please.
Yes, Ruben, thanks very much. Nice being here. And yes, I brought you two wines because I think these two wines are, for me, really a winemaker's wine. First, the Chardonnay. This Chardonnay is very suited for the Stellenbosch terroir, and it's a wine that you can sculpt in the cellar. We use a little bit of wood in this wine, all French oak, and I think from our wines are all from the Jonkershoek Valley, and they've got a very specific citrus, orange peel flavor on the nose, and I think underlying they've got that vanilla and almost buttery tones of the wood. So I think that's an obvious choice with the dish today. And for me, Chardonnay is a very exciting wine to make because you can really stamp down your style. I think in the 90s we started with Chardonnays that was very heavy and woody and a little bit. And I think that nowadays we've become, I would say, a little bit more sophisticated in that way that our styles are becoming a little more restrained, less wood and more fresher, you know, so.
I have to say, nowadays, a lot of the Chardonnays that I'm tasting are quite elegant, you know. Yes, there's a little bit of, there's still wood there, but it's not as heavy as it used to be. You know, you can definitely enjoy the wine without even having a meal. But even by saying that I can pick up, you know, the vanilla flavors really goes well together. Not that it always has, you know, I mean, those flavors doesn't really have to be present in the wine.
Absolutely.
It's also sometimes the opposites that attract, isn't it?
Yeah. What I find exciting about this, and that is what I'm learning as I go along. I've been at Lanzarote for nine years, and each vintage is different. And what I'm start to learning now is to use less new wood and more of that older wood, which brings that richness in the wine, but not that toastiness in it.
Okay.
And we do a lot of batonnage, that you sort of preserve the fruit from the wood. That's when you mix you mix up the lees in the wine, and every now and then we do it once a week, and that sort of protects the wine from a toasty influence and gives you that richness and that. I can still pick up, there's a bit of butterscotch that I can pick up in it as well. Yeah.
But listen, I see a red wine here as well.
Yeah, no,
it's like you said, it's the typical choice would be white wine, but I'm really interested to taste how the red wine
Yeah, I
would
mean,
go
I
with
couldn't leave this wine behind. You know, Pinotage is indigenous South African variety. I bought you the Lanzarote Pinotage. And for me, it's one of the most exciting wines to make because I call it the teenager. You know, in the vineyard, the vine is very vigorous. You have to tone it down. And don't smash my car. Don't go out tonight. Take it easy. You know, so and for me, the flavors I get from especially the Jonkershoek Valley is that plumminess, prunes and plumminess. And I saw today we've got this lovely special candy. What do you call it? Candy flush.
Candy stripe beets.
Candy stripe beets. The root vegetables, and I thought that is maybe something different, you know, with the red wine.
No, I mean, Lanzarote is known for Pinotage, isn't it?
Yeah, we can claim that we bottled the first Pinotage in the world in 1959, and it's something we're very proud of, and obviously, and and I think Pinotage also it's the South African story. You know, if you look at where we came from, it was like the Stiefkind of the wine industry. Yeah. And I mean, the Pinotage we produce now locally is world class, really world class.
But let's talk a bit more about the farm. I mean, obviously Lanzarote is quite an iconic wine farm.
Yeah, I mean, the history really goes back really from the first days that Simon van der Stel came to, landed in Stellenbosch. I mean, Stellenbosch was here all the years before his time. But it was one of the first farms that the Dutch was given to the Vryburgers. It was given to the guy called Isaac Schrijver. And interesting enough, there was a few free slaves that was also owners, part owners, or not of Landsraak, but next door, you know, so that the whole valley it's got quite an interesting history. And obviously, it's, like I said, Landsraak is for me the typical South African story. I mean, it went through highs and lows.
Yeah.
Wine was always part of it. It's in this beautiful Jonkershoek Valley. And yeah, I think one of the interesting things about Landsraak, when it was when Isaac Schrijver got hold of it, he called it Skoongezicht.
Oh.
And the typical Dutch. And of course, there was more than one farm that was called Skoongezicht. So later on in 1914, there was a Mrs. English, Catharina van der Bijl she married Mr. English, so she became Mrs. English. And she renamed it Landsraak. And it's exactly now 100 years since she's renamed the farm Landsraak. And we thought, and she bought it for £18,000, which was a huge sum in those days. And she planted a lot of vineyards, so she was quite a formidable lady, I would say. Yeah. And we've got a especially Chardonnay named after her, the Mrs. English. And yeah.
How did you end up at Landsraak? How long have you been working there now? And how did you get into winemaking?
Okay, I'll tell you the short version. I was first a journalist. I studied journalism and went into, did that. And I mean, our family come from farming background, and I was a bit frustrated and thought, no, this is not what I want to do. And it was actually my wife said, listen, we must go do some wine tasting courses. And something lit up, you know. I said, this is maybe an opportunity for me, you know. And I researched it, and I went to study it at Elsenburg, and yeah, and I did the whole thing. And I ended up getting a job at Lourensfort, which was owned then by Christo Wiese. And I was assistant winemaker there for 2 years. And then by luck, by chance, there came a position open in Landsraak, and I grabbed it with both hands and feet and everything, because I want to be back in Stellenbosch. And yeah, and I've been there ever since.
So Wynand, let's talk about the wine again.
Yes.
I mean, you're probably curious to know which wine I'm going to choose.
Yeah.
You want to know?
Absolutely. I'd love to know what you prefer with this. With a wonderful food, you know.
Wynand, I've made up my mind.
Really?
And even though I love this Pinotage and I can probably have a bottle with a friend and enjoy it. So I'll probably do that. But for this dish, I think the Chardonnay, it's probably the perfect match.
I agree. Yeah. No, that's what I thought. I also prefer that. It's actually it captures all that flavors of the fish and the.
Yeah, all the elements that's on the plate. Not only the sauce. I mean, there is a bit of vanilla in there, but it actually just goes with the beets, the sweetness of that, the little marron that's quite subtle. So very good combination. I just want to say thank you very much for making the time.
My pleasure.